creations. I don't know who knows this thing here. Some of you, okay. A good half of you know about this. Well, it's the ostrich pillow. It's a power napping product that we designed some years ago. And what not so many people know is that actually it came about, we sort of invented it as a game. Because we had, back then in the studio, we had a game. We didn't have many clients. We had games in the studio, and we were playing this game to see who could take the craziest and most sort of ingenious and comfortable nap, power nap. Well, that's how we invented the ostrich. And you know, you all laugh, you all think, oh, it's funny, it's quirky. Actually, it turned out to be a business for us. This was about 6 years ago when we designed it. Since then, we've been designing different models, versions, manufacturing and selling them in all four corners of the world. And we can proudly say now that as of 2018, we've put the population, the equivalent population of a city like Zurich, to do power napping all over the world, thanks to the ostrich pillow. So this leads me to the working title we've given to this talk, Otium and Negotium. If you don't know much Latin, don't worry. I don't know either. I was very bad at Latin during my studies. But basically it means leisure, play, game, business. The Romans were very good at this. At seeing the interface between these two things, understanding leisure, game, and if you want relaxation as part of their business. So Otium was not about being lazy and just chilling. It was about nourishing the mind, nourishing the soul, and making them more resilient when they had to do negotiation, business. And at Studio Banana, we believe very much in this dialogue between leisure, play, game, and business. We believe that you can do business having fun and as a game. Okay, a few weeks ago, when Rahel invited us to give this talk, she said, well, the monthly theme will be game. And we're like, oh, game. So we started to do a little bit of homework. What is game? What does game mean? And we realized that actually game is such a widely used word. And here are just some of the examples that came. We did a bit of a role play in the studio, different meanings of game. So it's dinner time. Where the hell is Peter? Is he playing mind games with us again? I don't think so, Mom. He's upstairs gaming. See, already two different meanings to the word game. Hi, Lucy. Did you watch Game of Thrones last night? No. I was watching the opening of the games in Korea. Again, two very different understandings of the word game. Excuse me, it's the first time I'm in this restaurant. What's the chef's recommendation? Today we have delicious game meat. This is a bit of a tricky one, but you know what game meat means? Okay, you'll find out soon enough. Why are you carrying a vuvuzela, Tom? Because I'm going to the game. Again, it's a different understanding of the word game. And now this is in a company, a very corporate, you know, imagine people with suits and ties. So tell me, head of sales, what's your game-changing strategy to promote the next campaign? Head of marketing, we'll gamify the product. People will love it. Again, very different understanding of the word game. See, when we were doing this role play, we were realizing game is such a rich word. There's so many different understandings, meanings to different people, in different contexts. You can turn it into a verb, into an adjective, into a noun. And game can be all of these things, from a Sudoku to a video game to, that's the game meat. It's hunted meat, like pheasant. It can be the swarm of drones at the opening of the games. It could be the jackpot at your Migros ticket. All of these things are games. And you might think, well, there's actually nothing in common in all of this. Well, we believe there is. And we try to boil it down to what we call game mechanics. And it's something that we use frequently at City Banana in our projects. What are game mechanics? So it's basically the basic components, the building blocks of a game. Things that you cannot do without when you're playing the game. It's all very basic. It's not rocket science. But when you see it all decomposed, you start realizing that you can design games, build games, invent games yourself. First of all, you need players. Players need to be identified. You need to know who is on what side or who is playing what role, and the player needs to be also conscientious about the role he or she is playing. You need a field, a defined field. You need boundaries. You need to understand what is the territory in which this game is unfolding, because otherwise it can spread out to other parts of live reality where you don't want that game to extend. It can be a football field, it can be a screen where you're playing your video game, but there is a field that comes with it. There are actionable rules. By actionable, I mean simple to understand, simple to enact. No one will get confused. They're basic enough. Rules are there to provide a sense of justice, to define what is fair and what is unfair in a game, and also to provide also a certain homogeneity to the players, because you cannot have one team in a football game playing using their hands and the other one not, right? That would be unfair. So rules are there to create this fairness, this justice. This is really important. You need rewards. And rewards need to be achievable, because if they're not, the game becomes a utopia. No one gets that reward, and that leads to frustration. This is very related to a function of the brain, a substance called dopamine, that is released and goes through certain channels and paths. Don't ask me too much about it, because I'm not a neuroscientist. But that's the part of the brain that controls rewards. You know that at the end of a certain series of actions, you get rewarded, you get a prize, and that's the goal. And those goals should be achievable, otherwise, as I said, there's no game. And finally, there's a little bit of chance. By chance, I don't mean just total, utter randomness or luck. In some cases, yes, when you play the jackpot, there's a bit of luck. But it's more the unpredictability. Basically, when you're doing a game, you know what you're trying to achieve, your goal, the reward you want, but how you're going to get there might change along the way, based on circumstances, based on behaviors, based on what you see. It's that chance, that unpredictability, that makes the game so fun. And if you think about creativity, isn't this very much the essence of creativity? Achieving a goal, and each time doing it in a different way, based on circumstances. But we think that this sort of deconstruction of game mechanics, at least to us in the studio, has helped us a lot to understand the psychology of game, how to engage with players, how to create very fun and motivational experiences. But you might be thinking, like these guys at South Park, what does this have to do with anything? I mean, okay, you're telling us all this theory about games, but we're here at CreativeMornings, we're designers, we want to think out of the box. What does this have to do with anything? So I'll tell you a bit more about this after a little publicity break. All right. So end of the publicity break. Where were we? I was trying to convince you that this is actually something that you can action upon. In general, I try not to be dogmatic, so I'm not trying to convince you of anything. Just sharing with you our vision of game, and then hopefully you can learn something from it. Now, if you remember what we said before the publicity break, there are players, there's a field, there are rules, there are goals or rewards, and there's a bit of chance. Now, how can you use this? How do we use it? Is we treat our projects like games. That's simple. Okay, that sounds like a nice thing to do. And I'm just trying to explain to you how we do it. When we talk about players, you can think of your users as players. The users of your products, the users of the services that you're creating or designing. You can consider them players. Give them roles and make them aware that they have roles in the design process. Make them cooperate with you and help you co-design the solution. When we talk about the field, we're talking about a medium. You're working in a digital field. The medium might be the screen of your smartphone. When you're working with space, it might be the boundaries in which you're working. As a graphic designer, it might be the four corners of a piece of paper. So understand that as a field in which you can play games. Think of rules as constraints. Think of constraints as rules. We often think as creatives that the client is the enemy. The client puts obstacles, crazy deadlines, shitty budgets, and all the rest. We know it. Now you can turn this whole situation upside down. Turn those disadvantages, those obstacles, into advantages. Play with them. Use them as rules. You have little budget. Okay, let's together become creative. Let's see what we can do with that budget. We know it's a parameter. It's a rule of the project. Or you've given me a crazy time. Okay, let's see what we can achieve in that time. We consider that part of the game. The rewards, and this is an important one. We've learned over time the importance of agreeing with the client, the user, the stakeholder early in the design process. What will be the success factors? How will we judge at the end of this project whether this was a successful project or a failure? And it's important to define those because then you have a purpose, you have an objective, you have a goal to achieve together, and you're working towards it. This is something that I really stress because as designers, I believe we don't do enough of that. In the business world, it's very easy. We know all this jargon, KPIs, ROIs. Well, they're real metrics. I think in design, we really should do more of this. And finally, chance. Well, maybe this for a designer, for a creator, is the easiest one to understand. But it's to create the room for the unexpected, to achieve that success in very different ways. If we all know, if the stakeholders, the clients, the users are aware that there is room to play with the unexpected, I think we will all have a much better understanding of how this project as a game scenario can plan out. This is Joe Pesci saying that everything that I just said to you is BS. He might still be unconvinced about the things that I said. I'm going to try to still prove my case here. But first of all, a second publicity break. All the things that we do at Studio Banana we could not do without our amazing team. They're spread in 3 different cities, London, Lausanne, Switzerland, and in Madrid in Spain. I just wanted for you to meet them. Where were we? Oh yeah, Joe Pesci saying that all of this was a bit of bullshit. Okay, let's see if we can prove this differently. Well, we were talking earlier about the unexpected, about the chance element, and about rules. And when you play games, it's a little bit like navigating without a map. You don't know the way the game will unfold, but you know that there are certain stations you go through. You know there's a certain objective you need to achieve. And we liken this very much to this drawing. I don't know if any of you know this drawing, but it's really beautiful. It's a map. It's a map designed or drawn by Lewis Carroll, the writer of Alice in Wonderland. And for this little story called The Hunting of the Star. This was a ship that was crossing the ocean, and the crew was getting really nervous because the captain really had no idea where they were going. They were asking him for the map, the cartography that was sailors need. And he was desperate because he didn't have one. So what he did is this. He drew a map which was empty, and suddenly everyone was happy because there was a map. They still didn't know where they were going. But this is very much what happens in design projects, in creative projects. You're navigating without a clear cartography. But you need certain anchor points, certain rules. A little bit, the empty map that gives you that reassurance. And in games, somehow, we're fine being lost. So why should it be any different to the way we run creative projects? Artists are actually very good at it. Maybe I don't know if there are artists in the room, but they can get lost, and they're fine with getting lost. This is an example of an artist that I particularly love. Diego, she was a German artist who escaped to Venezuela just before World War II. And she was making these amazing sculptures made out of metal pyramids. And all she knew was that the pyramid was the model she would use. She knew where she started, maybe somewhere hanging in the corner of the gallery, but she didn't know where she was going to end. She was discovering along the way. And she was fine because she had certain rules. These pyramids can be connected in certain ways and not in certain other ways. She knew her players. Her players were those modules. She knew the limits. They were defined by the borders or the limits of the gallery. She knew the reward, the goal she was going to. And definitely she knew how to navigate in uncertainty without a map. Aren't these all elements that are part of game mechanics? Now, I'll show you some of our projects in which we have deployed game mechanics. And this is something that I think is we realized over time, and it's very powerful. Games unfold like memorable stories. I played the Catan Settlers game 3 years ago with a friend, and I still remember how the game unfolded. And if you think of games, you probably have similar, very strong, vivid recollections. They really are anchored in your memory in very meaningful ways, and you know how a game unfolded. I don't know who likes football here. I love football. I remember the sequence of goals of some matches that happened 10 years ago. I know who scored, I know how was the tension at the beginning, but then they got relaxed, and then at the end they wrapped it all together, and they won the game. couple of years ago, we realized that we needed to treat our projects like stories, so that those who are involved in the project, clients, users, stakeholders, ourselves, the designers, partners, had a really engaging, memorable experience. So for 4 months, we stopped doing client work. We had our team dedicated to doing research, to mapping out a series of processes, and we came up with this, which is a roadmap. This is not an exact definition of where we need to go. It's just that empty cartography, empty map we saw earlier with Lewis Carroll. This is the Studio Banana version. A series of stages that help us design this journey, which project is. And this has helped us a lot. This has been really a game-changing moment, unintended. However, this is really important also. For us, games is not why we do things. Our purpose is not to do games. For us, game is how we do it. So, game for us is a tool, it's a mechanism. It's just a process, a method, if you want. It's not the ultimate objective to do games and to treat projects as games. It's just a tool, excuse me, to make the experience more engaging and to get the most out of all the people who are involved in the process of a game. So in the same period when we designed that design journey that I showed you earlier, that roadmap, we created our own playbook, so our own rules of our own game. And again, these are rules, these are things that are there to help us, like a scaffold, if you want, that helps us move forward. Little exercises that engage users, stakeholders, clients, ourselves as a framework. It allows us to navigate the different stages of a design creative process. This is compiled, here just with a sample, it's compiled of hundreds of cards that we had a lot of fun putting together. But more importantly, it's helped us accelerate the design process. It helped us make a really engaging and meaningful experience out of the design process and turn it into a game. Something that I mentioned earlier is you need to have identifiable players. And players at games often are in competition with each other. Sometimes they're in cooperation as well. That's something that we introduce as well in our projects. We are very much of a user-centric design agency. For us, at the beginning of the design process, it's really important to understand the user experience and to map situations. We realized that it was a kind of painful process for us to follow users, to photograph, to interview, and to do this over and over again. So we realized, why don't we turn this into a game again? And we delegate this to the users themselves. Like, what would be the reward? What would be the motivation for the user, client, to actually start mapping their own process? Just because Studio Banana people told them, well, that's maybe a little weak. So we started gamifying this process through the use of some digital tools. We asked users to start mapping their days, their emotions, their touch points. This is just an example of an exercise we did last year, where the employees of a company were documenting their day-to-day activities for us to learn how they behave, where they go, how they feel, as insight gathering at the beginning of a project. And by gamifying it and by letting the players see their scores, we really pushed the participation, the engagement. We had scoreboards, and of course there were rewards at the end, a prize for the one who posted the most touch points. There was also a prize for the one who posted the least. And there were positive emotions, let's say negative emotions. So there was, at the end, there was rewards for everyone. Right? Another aspect that is interesting about games, when you play a game, you dare risk. You dare risking much more than in real life, in business life. And there, I really think that this dialogue between the otium, the leisure, and the negotium, the business, is very, very enriching. What if we could dare in real life, we're doing business, when we're doing projects, like we dare and risk when we're playing, when we're doing games? So this is another example of something that we've launched recently. We've launched a competition among our users, the people who own, those hundreds of thousands of people who own ostrich bills around the world. We've asked them to share ideas with us. We've launched a competition. Dare to risk, have crazy ideas. We love hearing from you. Now, there's also a feel-good factor about games. We have fun. We should not forget that. That, as I said, is very related to some things going on in your brain, dopamine mainly, and also to the fact that playing games usually is a social act. It brings people together, and people challenge themselves. This is an example of a project we did some years ago. This is the head of infrastructure of a big organization. This is the CFO of the same organization playing Legos, like probably their grandchildren, to model out for us how their organization was built. While at the same time we were doing cartoons in the background. This feel-good factor is something that for us is really important. Again, we all love feeling like children, because it brings us back to the essence of life. So if you can create an atmosphere in your project where people can dare to risk, dare to feel like kids, and express themselves in playful ways, I think you're winning. Okay, and I'm going to show you a little project, taking the game for a ride. This is a project where game mechanics really played a big role. The project we developed for a hardware company, a company that went from 10 employees to 1,000 employees in just over 4 years. So an amazing success story. And they still retain very, very much their entrepreneurial maker, hacker spirit along the way. And they came to us with an idea. They wanted to sponsor or come up with an educational program to help bridge the digital divide, especially with underprivileged groups of population, rural population, senior people who have more of a difficulty accessing technology, and also children who are still maybe not yet in the technology paradigm. And after several gaming exercises with users, with the client, we came up with this idea of doing a road trip and putting a series of geeks and hackers and makers on 2 vans that we put as Fab Labs on wheels, and do a tour of 90 days where they were running workshops. Those workshops went all the way from a crash course on WhatsApp for seniors, which can be really a life-changing experience, to robotic exercises with kids. We came up with a whole playbook also of games to engage with users, workshops. Games that look like this one, interactive embroidery. I don't know if there's anyone into electronics here, but we brought together all grannies who were very good at embroidery with some geeks who were very good at welding and soldering circuits, and they came together and they did that. They made a mini piano that embroidering with copper wire. You could press here and it would make a sound, pressing there it would make another sound. It was the most fascinating experience. I don't have here the video of that, but I have a little summary of the project.
Cervantes, Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, Newton, Shakespeare. Men and women who were destined to a brilliant future, destined to break barriers and overcome obstacles. I believe that they all belong to a secret society composed by superheroes. All of them were people with revolutionary ideas, capable of destroying the social rules of their time. Just the most powerful and accurate weapons of the whole world. Ideas and intelligence.
Pues yo creo que se puede quedar. Aquí a ver unas fotos. Eso es. Más altura. Seguramente tengo que trabajar ahí.
I consider those people superheroes because using only their ideas, they have managed to transmit values and to transform the whole world. Our world. So mark my words, superheroes still live in the world with us. They keep existing. Maybe he or she is one of those superheroes, a person willing to change society and to create for us a better world, which is more fair, genuine and true.
We're slowly getting to the end of the talk. You might still not be convinced about all these things that I'm telling you about. So just to prove the concept, I wanted to play a little game with you. Rahel took the initiative already, or the CreativeMornings thing, of naming us, giving us sort of aliases. Where is Struppy? Struppy's in the room? No Struppy. Oh, I'm not going to find my... You're Struppy. Okay, we need to talk afterwards. And him. My son will be very proud because he loves him. So, proof of concept is a bit similar. And I'm going to ask you to grab some pens, so you can distribute them around. And distribute them around. And distribute. Just grab one. Actually, I'm thinking you probably don't need this because you all have badges, right? So you're going to use your badge, actually. It's going to be much easier. Okay, something that happens, and this is really a basic UX kind of problem, user experience kind of problem and situation. You come here to these conferences to meet people, new people, exciting people, people that open your mind. But chances are that you're sitting next to someone that you actually know, right? This happens. I mean, it happens to me all the time. I go to a conference, I'm going to meet new people. And I look left, I look right. Oh shit, I sat next to my friends. That really is a basic UX problem. Now, chances, let me have a wild guess here, is that you all have birthdays. Yeah? And that the first 2 digits of your birthday are probably between 1 and 31. Anyone doesn't fit here? Yeah, good. That was a good guess. So you're going to write on your badge the number of your birthday, just the first, the day and the month.
The day and the month?
No, the day of the month. Just the day of the month. And I'm going to do that as well. Someone needs Sharpies? No? I'll need those Sharpies back because they're lovely pens, but they're really expensive. Racker, I think Sharpie should sponsor CreativeMornings. Okay, you all right? Wrote your number? Okay. So at the end of the talk, try to look for people who are born on the same day as you. And start the conversation. It's that simple. Okay. So you see, just by playing a little game where there are players, there's a rule, simple enough to understand, and an achievable reward, which is getting to meet someone new, hopefully an exciting person, we can solve a little bit of a UX problem. Okay, and to end the talk, we're going to stand by the beginning. I told you about the ostrich pillow at the beginning. We're going to just wrap it all up with a little story of the ostrich, which is going to play by itself.
This train is bound for Nakano.
I bet you've never met anyone who doesn't sleep, right? Well, as it happens, our friends at Studio Banana observed that around them, many people don't seem to be getting quite enough sleep. In fact, they found out that before the invention of the light bulb, humans used to sleep an average of 10 hours per day. But nowadays, we sleep about 7 hours in Europe, 6 in the States, and even less in Japan. Isn't that crazy? Our Studio Banana folks, who really love creative power naps to inspire themselves, thought that something ought to be done about this serious and global sleep deprivation. Some big market players out there prefer pumping caffeine into the consumers' bodies to solve the problem. But the Studio Banana creative team thought that a happier approach should allow people to sleep where they want, when they want. So they came together as a multidisciplinary creative team and started generating hundreds of ideas until they got to the one. After multiple design iterations, the ostrich pillow was born and started to turn this dream into a reality. Sharing the idea through the internet, they realized that so many people from different corners of the world shared the need for a power napping device. The dream of a few empowered by the energy of a crowd. This gave the young creative team of Studio Banana the impulse to launch a device to help us all sleep our naps at ease. What happened during the following 30 days was a bit of a revolution, culminating with overwhelming support from across the world.
What's this?
It's called the ostrich pillow.
This is a new invention called the ostrich pillow.
It's called the ostrich pillow for...
Called the ostrich pillow. The ostrich.
Called the ostrich pillow. It's called the
The production line of the handcrafted ostrich pillows got started in Spain, of course, with the selection of the best materials to care about a top-quality napping experience. As Salvador Dali would say, the best thermometer to measure your success is if you're copied. Ostrich Pillow wasn't going to be an exception, and soon after its launch, dozens of low-quality copycats started appearing in the market. But this was no reason to stop them. Within 3 months, a sales network reaching out 53 countries was established. The napping revolution had arrived, and people started sharing like crazy the feel-good wonders of power naps. New surprising uses and benefits were popping up every day, from top performance sportsmen to insomnia patients, from autistic children to jet setters. Thanks to the ostrich pillow, thousands of people can now dream better during their happy naps, while the Studio Banana folks keep working on making new dreams reality.